Okay, let's ask everyone to please mute your mic.
Don't allow anybody to
Mhm.
John from America. You tell him.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Namaste, assalamu alaikum. Good evening, good night, or good morning to all of you. We are so pleased to have people at this meeting from all parts of the world in different time zones. I am Shakira Mohammed of Trinidad and Tobago, a teacher for the past 17 years. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the 277th edition of our ICC Thought Leaders Forum. We wish to sincerely thank all of you who have contributed in whatever way to the success of this ongoing Pan-Indo-Caribbean and Pan-Indian Diaspora Global Project. For 276 unbroken continuous weeks, we have been here every single Sunday, and in the past 5 years, 4 months and 1 week, we have featured 1,117 presenters from all parts of the world, speaking on 276 topics. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a weekly forum being hosted by the Indo-Caribbean Cultural Center, a legally registered research and publishing company operating since 2010. And in order to continue this weekly program and to make it bigger and better, we are kindly asking for suggestions and volunteers. If you give a donation, your name will be placed on our poster and all promotional materials, and you can contact Dr. Kumar Mahabir for details. Before I introduce our moderator, let us wish happy birthday to Roy Raghuber of South Africa, whose birthday is today, and the late J.S. Singh, who would have been 95 years old tomorrow, to Alka Katiyar, and the founder of the Grammatology University, Dr. Shadanand Singh, who just joined us of the Netherlands. So we want to dedicate this happy birthday song to all of them. So Dr. Mahabir?
सुदिनं सुदिनं तव जन्मदिनं भवतु मङ्गलं तव जन्मदिनं चिरञ्जीव कुरु पुण्यवर्धनं सुखजीव कुरु कीर्तिवर्धनम् विजयी भव सर्वत्र सर्वदा जगति भवतु तव सुयशोगानम् सुदिनं 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 तव जन्मदिनं भवतु मङ्गलं तव जन्मदिनम् शोकानं सुदिनं 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 तव जन्मदिनं भवतु मङ्गलं तव जन्मदिनं
Thank you so much. And again, we wish all of you happy birthday. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'll introduce our moderator today, who is Shalama Mohammed, the co-director of this ICC Zoom platform, who is a business teacher and researcher from Trinidad and Tobago. She obtained her master's degree in business psychology from Franklin University in the USA. Shalama, welcome.
Thanks so much, Shakir. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Namaste, and a warm welcome to all of you. Happy birthday greetings to all. Thank you so much for choosing to be here with us. This program is being recorded on Zoom and live streamed on the YouTube channel of the Indo-Caribbean Cultural Center. So welcome to all of you on YouTube at this time. As is normally the situation, we want to avoid intrusions from trolls, so our IT manager has muted everyone. Speakers, please do not admit anyone, do not unmute anyone, and do not allow anyone to share your screen. Thanks so much for your cooperation. Today we are talking about South Indian culture and the Indian diaspora. The presentations that follow would explore the themes of history and migration, language and identity, religion and rituals, arts, food and cultural expressions, community formation, and future outlook. We are hoping that our speakers will address several questions, which includes what were the major waves of South Indian migration, and how have settlement patterns shaped community identity across the diaspora? How critical is Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, and Kannada to diasporic identity? And what challenges exist in preserving these languages across generations? How have South Indian religious practices, ceremonies, and rituals been maintained, adapted, or merged in diaspora communities? In what ways have songs, music, dance, and food sustained South Indian cultural memory, and how are they evolving in new contexts? How do social structures, gender roles, and generational perspectives influence the preservation or transformation of culture? Will South Indian diasporic identity remain distinct, merge into a broader Indian identity, or disappear altogether? Ladies and gentlemen, before we bring on our speakers, I'd just like to inform you that we will take short questions from you, members of the live audience, after each presentation today. To those of you on YouTube, please type your messages, your questions as well, in the chat box, and we will alert our speakers. So let me introduce you to our first speaker today. And this is Jagannath from India. He's an advocate at Janasanan and Partners. He has 16 years of practice in the Madras High Court and is also a renowned author and active contributor to legal and social initiatives. Welcome, Jagannath.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for the introduction.
You're
Yes.
welcome.
Welcome. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the introduction. Yeah, you can hear me, ma'am?
Yes, you can go
Yes.
ahead and just, can you just speak a little louder, please?
Yeah, I'll just come near the mic. You can hear me now properly?
It's better,
Yes.
yes, thanks.
This is better. This is better, yes. Can I start the presentation now?
Certainly.
Yeah. Welcome to all. Tamils, as you know, Tamil language is one of the most ancient and one of the oldest languages in the world. It gives me great pleasure for me to give this presentation in this August gathering, though it is 12:30 in the night today. I would like to first and foremost thank our Dr. Kumar Mahabir sir and also Sharima madam for giving me this opportunity to present over here today. And what exactly we are going to talk about today is pertaining to Tamil and South India culture. Pertaining to Tamil and South India culture. Now, if you see the migration, the history of migration of Tamils, it is from, as you know, it's from Tamil Nadu towards the east, that is towards the east of the Coromandel Coast. The Tamil Nadu coast is called as the Coromandel Coast, towards the east of the Coromandel Coast. Historically, the migration in the earlier 10th century and in the 9th century has been from Tamil Nadu, that is from Kanchipuram, from Nagapattinam, and from few other areas which are port cities of Tamil Nadu to certain other countries which are countries today, like for example to Malaysia, which is called as Kadaram, and also to Srivijaya, which is called as Indonesia, and also to the Cambodia and Vietnam, which you know we have the Angkor Wat temple there today in Siam Reap. Towards the west, after the advent of the indentured labor system, which was introduced as a great experiment by John Gladstone, you had three colonial powers. Number one was the British, number two was the French, and number three was the Dutch. These three colonial powers ensured that from Tamil Nadu, you had the Kalanganis and the Maestris who were employed as middlemen to recruit people from Tamil Nadu to go to these indentured labor plantations, as indentured laborers to these plantations across the globe. Towards the west of the Coromandel Coast, you know very well that we have the French Reunion Island, the British through the Mauritius. You also have Guadeloupe. You have Saint Martinique or La Martinique, as how they would call it. And then you have Guyana. You have Trinidad and Tobago, and few other countries in the Caribbean, including Suriname, for which the Dutch were responsible for taking the Tamils from the Coromandel Coast. And towards this side, you had Indonesia, Malaysia, to an extent Sri Lanka, Burma, and also to Fiji. These were the broad countries to which Tamils were involved in migration as a result of the indentured labor with regard to Girmitias, to work as Girmitias or to work as indentured laborers in the plantation in these colonies, which were ruled by the colonial powers that I just mentioned. Now, we'll take country-wise. We are going to focus today upon certain countries and certain paradoxes which is there with regard to migration. First and foremost, I would like to start off with the country of Indonesia, which was previously called as the Srivijaya. Indonesia was previously the Srivijayan Empire. We had, interestingly, a brief history, I would like to say, from Tamil Nadu. We interestingly had the Hindu Tamil emperor, who was called as Rajendra Chola, who defeated the Srivijayan emperor, and he established the Cholas as the maritime dominant naval force in Southeast Asia and in South Asia. He ensured that the Tamil merchant guild called the Ayavol 500, that inscription is also called as the Lobatua inscription or the Barus inscription, through which Tamilians had gone there to rule. You had Rajendra Chola ruling Indonesia for a quite period of time, for at least about 50 years in Indonesia, in the upon defeating the Srivijayan Empire. This was between the period of 1025, exactly about 1,000 years back, between 1025 to 1088 AD. Now, after this, if you see what has happened in Indonesia, cut across after 800 years, you have these people who were ruling Indonesia once, the Srivijayan once. These people were taken as indentured forced laborers, recruited by the Kalanganis and by the Maestris from Tamil Nadu, and they were sent across in the ships to Indonesia, mainly to Sumatra, to Aceh, and to Bali. And you have this company called the Dutch VOC company, which was there, which is also called as the Delhi Company, which was there in Indonesia, which was the predominant company which was responsible for the migration of the Tamils from the Madras Presidency and the Coromandel Coast to Indonesia. Now, if you see, along with this migration, which is after 1820 onwards till about 1910, with regard to the Dutch migration, or rather the Dutch VOC migration from of the Tamilians from Tamil Nadu, if you can see, you can see the culture of Tamils being taken from here by these Girmitias to Indonesia. A remnant of that, which is there celebrated even today. You can see an area called Kampung Madras. Even today in Indonesia, if you go to Indonesia, there is an area called Kampung Madras. You have the Kali temple, you have the Mariamman temple, and you have various other temples which were established by the Girmitias over there to ensure that they have the freedom of religion in those areas. where they were taken to work as plantation laborers. They were made to toil in plantation labor, as harsh plantation labor, for more than about 12 hours to 14 hours per day. And the mortality rate alone for Tamilians was so high that the Dutch had to get remonstrations from the British Council in Indonesia, and a committee was appointed. It was sent to Indonesia from the British, and they ensured that certain rations which were given as daily rations were increased, and the sanitation conditions of the Tamilians in those areas had to be improved because of the intervention of the British, because the people who were transported from Madras Presidency were at that point of time British subjects, even though they were Tamilians at that point of time. After this, what has happened is, if you can see, during the freedom struggle of Indonesia, during the independence movement of Indonesia, you had Sukarno as a very important person who was responsible for getting the independence of Indonesia. You had Tamils who were fighting along with the Indonesians to get the freedom from the Dutch. Even today, you have the popular festivals like the Mariamman festivals over there. You have the Timidi, which is the fire walking. You have the Kaveri, and you also have the Murugan temple Taipusam, which is celebrated in a very grand manner in Indonesia, especially in Kampung, Madras area. The Kali temple there is very famous, and so is the fireworking celebration, which is very famous, including the Taipusam festival in Indonesia. Now, let's go to another place, which is Guadeloupe, which is a French overseas territory. Now, we have divided this country-wise. We are now going to Guadeloupe to French overseas territory. Tamil Girmitias were shipped mainly from the port of Pondicherry and Karaikal by the French East India Company. They had a convention between the French and the British through the Maestris and through the Kalanganis to recruit the Tamilians in the Coromandel coast through the British. The British would employ recruiters, and these recruiters would recruit these people due to various reasons. Number one was the Great Madras Famine, because artificially famines were created to ensure that the Tamil culture was broken, because they were quite, powerfully had ancestors, and they were all very proud of the culture, and they were all very rich, very fertilely endowed people. Unfortunately, the British came in and they ensured that the artificial famines was created across the Madras Presidency, starting from Ganjam in Odisha to Kanyakumari in the south and Malabar. This is the places where you had the Great Madras Famine, including in the Guntur famine of 1833, which caused havoc. More than 1 million people have died only because of these artificial famines, which has taken place in Madras, similar to that of the Bengal famine. Now, after this, what has happened is the Tamilians, unfortunately, were under the mercy of these people called as famine commissioners, who are British people. So they had no other choice but to accept to the terms and conditions of the British and submit to their rule. And the British cunningly at this point of time employed a scheme through which they gave opportunity in the name of opportunity of work. They ensured that these people went as indentured laborers, and they were forced to sign the contract, and they were sent to various places across in the colonies. One such place to which the Tamilians were shipped through the French, because they had an agreement between the British and the French, was to the French overseas territory of Guadeloupe. Now, according to an author called Christian Schackenberg, more than 30,000 people. This includes those people who came as indentured laborers through the ships. They are mostly called as coolie ships. These people had come through 1853. Somebody said over here they come to 1853. That is correct. They came in 1853 from Pondicherry. That is from Karaikal and Pondicherry to Guadeloupe. And according to the source given by Christian Schaffenberg, more than 30,000 people were killed or they were died because of the migration through ships, and also because of the worst humanitarian conditions in the plantation. The last ship was called as Nantes et Bordeaux, which had one of the most highest mortality rate for any coolie, or you're not supposed to use the word coolie, for any Girmitia ship which was there abroad by any colonial authority. Now, at this point of time, the Indians were treated there in Guadeloupe only as British citizens. They were not treated as French citizens. They were not given even basic voting rights. There was a person called Henry Chidambaram, who was a Tamilian, who fought for the voting rights of the Tamilians who were there in the plantations, especially the Girmitias. And he emerged as a leader, as a beacon of hope for the Tamil culture over there. Predominantly, he was imprisoned for more than about 20 years. He fought a court case and he was imprisoned for more than about 20 years. And then he got the voting rights for the Tamils in the French overseas territory called Guadeloupe. There was a doctrine of laissez-faire doctrine, which was invoked by the French, which ensured that certain the temples were not in a position to be built openly by the Tamils because they were professing Hindu and Islamic religion. They were not allowed to build mosques, and they were also not allowed to build the Hindu temples in places like Guadalupe. Because of the laissez-faire doctrine, I'm told that Henry Chidam, through the research, what we could see, and also from the Abhilekh Patil portal, from the other research sources, we are able to see that Henry Chidambaram was instrumental in ensuring, in securing the voting rights. And subsequently, what happened, it gave some hope to the Tamilians in constructing temples in Guadalupe. Temples like, for example, the Mariamman temple, you have the Murugan temple, and most importantly, they are Kali and Mariamman temple, which were built. You have the functions of TBD, which is fire walking, which is common in the Tamil-dominated area in Guadalupe, because most of them who were there in Guadalupe, I think they're in a city called Saint Mole. The capital of Guadalupe is quite far. It's called, I think, Point de Piquet. But I think most of them are in a place called Mole, and TBD, which is fire walking. Pongal as a festival is celebrated there, and there are many Mariamman temples which is there in Guadalupe, which is actually a white washed area, because if you see the walls in Guadalupe, they are mostly painted in white. But despite all these things, you have, despite all the laissez-faire doctrine superimposed by the French authorities, you still have Tamilians being resilient enough in ensuring that the Tamil diaspora was able to celebrate the Pongal, Mariamman temple and the Thimidi temple, the Thimidi festivals in Guadalupe, with regard to the festivals of the Hindus to be celebrated in Guadalupe. Now, coming to another country called Fiji. As you know, Fiji is situated in the Pacific near to Australia. You had the British through the Kalanganis and through the Maitris, who were the brokers through which they had ensured that they had recruited these people to Fiji as indentured laborers. There was a system called as a double corvette system, which was established in the plantation, which systematically abused the money which was supposed to be given to the coolies. You know, the rations also were cut into half. They were not even given proper rations. And you had the Chimanlal and McNeil report, which has highlighted this, and also the Sanderson committee has highlighted all these aspects and it has been documented in these reports. 12 to 14 hours of harsh labor in Fiji was there, and there was very high mortality rate in Fiji. The list of ships, if you can see from Fiji, which left from Madras, it was huge and it was humongous. The mortality rate, notwithstanding the fact that you had children and you also had infants, people below the children below the age of 12 were not among the death count, or they were not along the mortality count. But if you count that also, it was in thousands. It was not in hundreds, it was in thousands. So what happened? Our people, that is Tamilians who went from Tamil Nadu, had gone to Fiji as indentured laborers. There was a very important person from the Tamil community in Fiji called as M.N. Naidu, and another person who went from a place called Gudalur near Uti from Tamil Nadu. His name is Sadhu Kupusami Naidu, who went from Tamil Nadu who was taken as a laborer from Tamil Nadu to Fiji. There he established a Sangam called the Ten India Aikya Sangam, which means the South India Collaborative Sangam, which was established mostly by Tamilians and the Telugu people over there. Sadhu Kupusami was unanimously a person who was chosen as a leader about 100 years back. This was done with the help of the Ramakrishna Mission and few Maharishis and few Swamijis from the Ramakrishna Mission to fight for the cause of the Tamil diaspora in Fiji and to establish their rights in Fiji. What happened subsequently was the Sivasubramaniam temple in a place called Nadi was built by the Tamilians at the leadership of Sadhu Kupusami Naidu and M.N. Naidu. Now, it was a Murugan temple for Lord Kartikeya, which was built, and you have the Sivasubramaniam temple, which was built. Apart from that, the Ten India Aikya Sangam, which is there as as an organization, was instrumental in establishing schools, because, as you know, you have forced in certain areas you have forced Christian conversions, unfortunately, through education, which was employed as these by these colonial powers. So to overcome that, they had established these schools. The Ten India Aikya Sangam established schools. They have established nursing schools, and they have also established many institutions, including higher education institutions. Recently, they established nursing institutions also. In addition to all of these things, You have Thimidi, which is a very important fire walking festival, which is there. You have the Kavadi for Lord Muruga. In the Sivasubramaniam temple, the Kavadi for Lord Muruga is considered to be one of the most important festivals, including apart from Taipusam. You have the Tarai Tapate song and the Shashti, which is a very important festival, which is celebrated in Fiji, especially in this temple. Now, a very important aspect I would like to highlight with regard to Fiji and conclude with regard to Fiji is you have Prime Minister Modi of India, who recently last year in December 2024 inaugurated something called as the Fiji Tamil Chair, Indo-Fiji Tamil Chair. A separate Tamil Chair has been established for the development and promotion of Tamil language for Tamilians in Fiji. This is not widely well known abroad. It's not even known in Tamil Nadu. So I would like to highlight this fact that for the promotion of Tamil language, Prime Minister Modi in December 2024 had established a Tamil chair for the promotion of the Tamil language in Fiji. They have undertaken to sign an MOU along with the Tenindia Aikya Sangam for this particular purpose, for enhancing the cause of development of the Tamil language in Fiji. I am stating this because there are some issues stating that, the Prime Minister doesn't develop Tamil language. So this is an example to show that even abroad, in a place like Fiji, to help the Tamil Girimitia specifically, Prime Minister Modi has ensured that the Tamil chair has been established for the promotion of Tamil language in that country. Moving on to the next country, which is Malaysia. Malaysia, especially the area of Penang, in ancient Tamil, from 400 AD onwards, it was called as Kadaram. Rajaraja Cholan, who was a Hindu Tamil emperor, was also called as Kadaram Kondan, which means that he had conquered Kadaram. He was one emperor who conquered Kadaram. He was a Hindu Tamil emperor belonging to the Chola dynasty. Apart from that, you had a Hindu Tamil emperor called as Jatavarma Sundara Pandyan. He had conquered up to Thailand and up to Malaysia and also up to Vietnam and the present day Singapore, what we know. Singapore, what we know is actually a Tamil name. Singa is lion, Puram is area. So Singapore is actually a Tamil name, though there are certain disputes with regard to that, but according to me, it's a Tamil name. Now, in this aspect, I would like to state that after the Mahapajit empires in Indonesia and also after certain downfall of the Chola Empire and the Pandyan Empire, you had the sultanates in Malaysia. Even today, you have the Aslan Shah Sultan in ruling in Malaysia. In the meantime, you had the Dutch ruling Malaysia, and then you had the British taking over the control of Malaysia. You had Fort Marlborough in Indonesia, which was also there as a fort to ensure that indentured laborers and slaves were taken from Madras through a person by name Elihu Ale, in whose name you have the Yale University. That person was responsible for taking slaves from Madras Presidency to Malaysia and to Indonesia to Fort Marlborough. So,
Pradhan,
yes,
may I
ma'am.
interrupt you, please?
Yes, ma'am.
At this point in time, 15 minutes has already passed. Could you
Yeah, I'll
please
just
make your
complete.
closing
I'll just
comments
complete
and
this.
just kindly comment on whether or not indentured immigrants went to Malaysia or Singapore?
Yes. I'm just coming to that. Subsequently, if you see in later part of the 19th century and the earlier part of the 20th century, you had the indentured laborers who were taken from Tamil Nadu through the British to Malaysia. As of today, Tamil is an official language in Malaysia and Singapore, which is taught in the schools. You have the Batu caves, which as a result of the Tamil Girmit population, also you have some Chettias over there as part of the trading guild, who were responsible for construction of the Batu caves, which is one of the most tallest Murugan temples in Malaysia. They were brought in as Girmitias from Madras by the British. Now, very important factor for the indentured laborers who went to Malaysia is their role that they played in the Azad Hind Fauj of Netaji. There was a clarion call given by Netaji in Singapore and in Malaysia for the joining of the Indian National Army to join the freedom struggle. Most of them who joined the Indian National Army and Netaji's army from Malaysia, 90% of them were Tamil people who are working in the plantations. This is a very important factor. And subsequently, now we have the Kavadi, we have the Taipusam, and few other important festivals, including the Thimidi festivals. But the Taipusam festival is considered to be one of the biggest festival, a cultural festival in Malaysia. Since the time limit has, due to paucity of time, I would like to conclude and state that in the future, we hope that the discrimination practices against the Tamils is stopped, and in certain areas it is still continuing by the due to the remnants of the colonial authorities. We sincerely hope that these kind of practices stopped, and Tamil is made as official languages as Hindu Bharatiya Tamilian. I'll be very happy if Tamil is made as the official language in Guadeloupe and Les Martinique. Due to paucity of time, I couldn't talk about Les Martinique, but you have a person called, it's there in the presentation, I'm sorry. You have that person who is leading Les Martinique as the head of Les Martinique. So I'm sorry, the presentation just went off. So that person is right now leading Les Martinique as one of the members of the parliament in Les Martinique. So I sincerely hope, wish and pray that in the future these kind of discriminatory practices are stopped. Thank you so much for having me in this August gathering. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jagan. I know we could have this conversation for the next hour. I know you have a lot of information to share again. Unfortunately, we do want to take as well the presentations from other speakers. So hopefully you'll be able to make some input later on as well. But let me just ask this question, which I'm seeing from Nalini on the chat. She's asking, in your research, did the South Indians face discrimination by the North Indians anywhere else, as was the case in Fiji? Hence, formation of Sangam organization in Fiji for identity formation of South Indians. She says she's published a few papers on Fiji's South Indians. So just tell us about the discrimination, if any, please.
The discrimination the Tamil faced were mainly from the colonists. From what the research we can see, it is mainly from the colonists. In fact, if you see, you have the McNeil and Chimanlal report, which was there. Chimanlal was a Gujarati. Sir Chimanlal, as you know, was a Gujarati who ensured that the hardships that the Tamilians face is part of the McNeil and Chimanlal report. I'm not aware of any kind of discrimination whether they faced by the North Indians. I'm not aware of that because we are focusing mainly upon the colonial period, that point of time. So I'm not aware of that. I'm not saying that it did not happen or it did happen. I do not know, but I'm not aware of that. But I firmly believe that the discrimination which was done by the British was quite overwhelming compared to what has happened elsewhere. That's my point.
Mr. Praveen Kumar, you made an interesting comment. I don't know if you want to unmute your mic and make a comment here. In the interim, Mr. Gopalakrishnan is saying, Kadaram, often quoted in Sangam literature, I'm not too sure if I pronounced that correctly, but Kadaram, often quoted in Sangam literature, is the coast along Burma, Thailand, and Malaysia. The region is not defined correctly. Is it Ernest Muthusamy?
Yeah. I'm just going through all these things. Yeah, Kadaram is these in Sangam literature. If you see, it is the coast along Burma, Thailand, and Malaysia. Yes, but essentially it is called. It is the area from Penang. If you see from Penang, Thailand, and Burma, that area is usually called as Kadaram, and the entire area was once captured by Rajaraja Chola. So that is why he is called as Kadaram Kondan. Even today, if you go near near Gangaikonda Cholapuram, that place, you have this place called Kadaram in Tamil Nadu here today to highlight the achievement of Rajaraja Cholan as he had captured Malaysia at that point of time. His title is Kadaram Kondan in the Meikir. So what that person, Gopalike Chenani, I don't know, Gopalaki Chenani, I think what he said is correct. And yes, it is Ernest Muthusamy, and there was I forgot the name of another person. I'm sorry, my memory doesn't strike me. It's 12:30 in the night over here. It's actually 1 a.m. in the night over here. I'm sorry. There was another person, I think Serge Lakshmi. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. I don't know French. Serge Lakshmi or something of that sort. He was a member of parliament in Les Martinique, who was a member of parliament from that place of Les Martinique. And he has risen on his own efforts. He's a Tamilian. If you see his ancestry, it's from the Tamilian French ancestry from Pondicherry and from Kandekal. And Guadeloupe is a sister city of Pondicherry. If you see Guadeloupe and Pondicherry, they are sister cities. So that's how it is.
Terrific. Nalini, you're unmuted. Go ahead, please.
Yes, excuse me. Thanks, Shalima. So I'd just like to say that that there was a lot of discrimination faced by the South Indians in Fiji from the already existing indentured labourers from the north. that was a big factor in getting Sadhu Kupuswamy to, and others to form the Sangam organization initially for identity formation. And with the discrimination, you find in Fiji that the language, South Indian languages are almost extinct. So I'm very interested to learn about more these Prime Minister Modi's initiative. And next year is the 100th Jubilee of South Indians coming to Fiji, and I understand there'll be, excuse me, 2 books launched, one on the South Indian experience, the other on the Mariam, I think it's the Mariam temple in Nandi. So, yeah, that's just what I wanted to say.
Terrific. Thank you, Nalini.
Yes,
Jagan, do you
Salima,
want to say anything?
just to mention what Nalini said. So when the Gurmit system began in 1879, so the North Indians were in a way quite established, and the Tamils were actually taken, or the people from South India were taken probably after 1910. So there was discrimination by the North Indians, firstly because the South Indians did not speak Hindi, and they spoke Tamil, Malayalam, and Telugu.
Telugu.
And probably the main person, and there's not much written about Sadhu Kupasamy. He was actually, he stationed himself in a very small town called Rekireki, which still has not been established to any major town. And he was responsible for setting up the Penang Sangam Primary School and the Penang Sangam College. And then he based himself in Nandi, which the history, if you go where my mother attended the high school, was Sri Vivekananda High School. And at that time, the Indians were not allowed to go to any government high school.
Yeah, correct.
So in the whole of the Western Division, there was a boarding school set up. And to be honest, the South Indian community, which the North Indians never want to realize in Fiji, is that, because of Sri Vivekananda High School, many of the Indian population got educated in high school. That is my mom's era, who is now 87. So if you talk to people who are above the age of 85 to 95, the whole, you can say, thinking or appreciation that if it was not for Sri Vivekananda High School, people would not have got educated. But coming very recently to the Sangam organization, which I really don't want to put it on on air now, is I volunteered to do some research voluntarily, and some of these guys they actually know me very well, but because they don't want someone to speak out the truth of what actually happened in Fiji, they don't want people like me to contribute. It is very sad, and I recently went to Fiji and I mentioned to some people, and it is the politics of some of the guys in Fiji that what needs to be written has never been written. And Ramakrishna Mission, Jagannath, in the early 1930s, there were some people who were very corrupt in Ramakrishna Mission, and they were actually deported from Fiji. And there was a lot of mistrust about Ramakrishna Mission, and those things haven't been written till today too. But the South Indians still have maintained. I know it is very difficult to keep the culture and all that, but even in Australia, we have firewalking, and the aspect of Tirikuttu is now on the rise. Even in Fiji, they are trying to teach Telugu in Tamil, but the population is very small, especially in towns like Tavwa and Rekireki. But they are facing difficulties. And to mention today, the first Tamils who were taken to Fiji was before the indenture started in 1870 via New Caledonia and Reunion. And there were about 100 of them taken. And there is no records of those people. And only recently I have found a couple of people whose ancestors actually came from Reunion via New Caledonia to Fiji. But most of them migrated after 1970 because they had qualified for French and Portuguese citizenship. And it is very difficult to trace these people. And then some of them intermarried with North Indians. I recently came through a very young girl who basically did not look like an Indian, but resembled 90% Portuguese.
Mr. Kumar,
I'm now liaising with the
Mr.
ancestors.
Pravin Kumar,
Yeah, I would like to respond
Yeah.
in just 1 minute.
Sure.
Just 1 minute. I'll not take much time. Sir, I really appreciate the fact that you are doing a research. I would just like to make 3 quick points. Prime Minister Modi, by the way, is the Prime Minister of India. He's not a North Indian or South Indian. So, as on behalf of India, despite being a Gujarati, coming from the home state of Manilal Doctor and from Chimanlal, he ensured that the Tamil chair is established in Fiji for promotion and development of Tamil language. He has not done that for promotion or development of Gujarati or any other language. He's done that exclusively for Tamil language, which we all should be proud of the fact that for Girmitias, he's doing some help. Point number 2, with regard to your research, I acknowledge that you're doing a great job, sir. We have taken certain information from the archives, which is from the Abhilekh Patal portal, which is now available to everybody across the world. Because earlier the Girmitias, the archives, you have to go to New Delhi. You have to go to the National Library in New Delhi, that is the National Archives in New Delhi, or to the National Library in Calcutta and Alipur. And that's from where you can get this information. But if you can see in the archives of Abhilekh Patal, certain information now is available online. So it is free of cost, except for few things which you have to take. It is free of cost. So I'll be really happy if you can focus on that particular research, focus on that particular website for your research. It will be helpful. And I would just like to say that I understand that there is some kind of discrimination what is happening in Fiji or something of that sort from what you're saying. But at the end of the day, sir, we are all Indians. We have to come together to fight the white man and his atrocity, which is perpetuated against all of us together. At the end of the day, the North Indians also did not come there as zamindars. They came there as indentured laborers themselves. So we all have to be together and united in a foreign country as a diaspora, because we will have that power if we are united. It is my humble request. If I've said anything wrong, I apologize, but it's my humble request to that effect, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Jagan. Dr. Shadanan, I'm going to ask you to hold, please, if you don't mind. We'll probably take it after, because I really want to introduce our next speaker now from France. Thank you very much. Very, very informative, Jagan. And we will continue with that conversation after, as long as we have the time. Thank you. Mr. Mahen Poinuswamy lives in France at this time. He's the Regional Vice President for Europe of the Global Indian Organization. He's an IT engineer and a community leader with a strong commitment to uniting the Indian diaspora. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, let me share my screen. Thank you.
Go ahead. You should be able to. Yeah, it's coming up.
Make it okay.
It's coming up now. Not yet visible. Okay, there we go.
Okay, wait a second. Now it should be good.
Excellent.
Okay, so good morning, good afternoon, distinguished friends from different countries of the world. For me now in Paris, it is mostly 9:48 at night. So before starting, I would quickly thank my friends, Ashok Ramsaran and Amita Bulaki, who is also in this session with us, for having helped me in an extraordinary project which will hopefully be announced soon by Honorable Prime Minister of Mauritius, Naveen Chandra Ramgoolam, who is actually in India meeting Honorable Prime Minister Modi. And my thanks also will go to Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Dhananjay Ramphal, and Honorable Minister of Culture, Mr. Mahendra Gundia. So for protocol reasons, I will not give you more details, but let me proceed with my presentation. So thanks for the organizers for having given me the opportunity to participate in this session. Today, I am honored to do this presentation on the vibrant and enduring topic, South Indian culture in the Indian diaspora, how it is preserved, adapted, and celebrated in the world. My presentation will be more or less oriented on the South Indian culture in France and its evolution in the overseas territories or department island of France, like Réunion in the Indian Ocean, the Caribbean island of Guadeloupe, Martinique, Guyana. I will also talk about the South Indian diaspora of my native land, Mauritius, where I was born and grew up. And as mentioned, now my adopted land is now since 40 years in France. And before France, I was also staying in Delhi for some time. So this presentation of journey will give you a very wide idea of the South Indian culture as per my experience, being grown up myself in this South Indian culture. So just to start with a short anecdote or cultural reference, some people will say, wherever Indians go, they carry a piece of their homeland in their hearts. For South Indians in particular, the traditions, food, music, and festival bloom over thousands of miles away from home. Others also will say you can take an Indian out of India, but you cannot take India out of an Indian. Or in a different way, some people will also say you can take out a South Indian out of India, but you cannot take India out of a South Indian. So my next slide here. So my presentation will be structured in this way, where first I'll talk about what characterizes South Indian culture in France, which, as I've told earlier, is my adopted land, where I live and work. How South Indian culture is different from North Indian culture. Has the incidence of this South Indian culture been declining or rising in popularity? How mainstream is South Indian culture? And how has it integrated with other cultures? First of all, when we talk about South Indian diaspora, we refer to communities of people originating from the southern states of India who have migrated and settled across the world. As shown in my slide in the picture, South India generally comprises of 5 main states: Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, and with the additional union territories of Pondicherry and Lakshadweep. So we can't talk about history of South Indian diaspora without talking about migration. South Indians began migrating in significant numbers during the 19th and 20th centuries, initially as indentured laborers during colonial period, or later as professionals to the United States, Europe, Middle East, and beyond, like countries like Singapore, Malaysia, and even Australia. So for me, there are 3 types of migration of the South Indians. There was a colonial period of migration where a large number of Tamils, Telugus, Malays, and Kannadigas were taken as indentured laborers to the Southeast Asia, Africa, Mauritius, the Caribbean, and Fiji in the 19th and 20th centuries. And the second type of migration is post-independence migration, where highly skilled professionals, especially engineers, doctors, and IT specialists, migrated to the US, UK, Canada, Australia, and the Gulf from the 1960s onward. And there is also the Gulf migration, where many, in particular Kerala people, has a long history of the migration to the Middle East for labor and professional work. So as far as France is concerned, the French has a long history and connection with India since 1670, we can say 1674. Because the French settlement, it was consisting before 5 geographically isolated enclaves on the Indian subcontinent that were once the French East India Company industries. And they were created in the enclaves of Pondicherry in 1674, in Karaikal in 1739, in Yanam in 1723, which is on the coast, Coromandel coast of India. There is Mai also, which was created in 1725 on the Malabar coast. And the Chandanagar, it is on the Bengali coast in 1673. And all these were the French enclaves. And in 1950 and 1954, they were de facto absorbed in the Republic of India after independence and long time after the British left. There was a treaty called the Treaty of Cession, which was signed between India and France. And they housed a very huge population of the Pondicherry, the South Indian Tamils, came to France at the time. And coming to France, if you visit Paris, you will see that we have a Little India here. Little India in Paris, it is located near the metro station, we call it La Chapelle, on the North Station, where there is a whole street lined with Indian stores and restaurants, as you can see in the slides. And after we have got temples also made by many of the people from South India. The shops, you can have barber, meat shops, groceries, and everything now in Paris, like a small India, Little India. And same as in Réunion, Guadeloupe, and Martinique, as you can see on the slide, there is a summary of the indentured periods where the Indians were brought by ships to the different islands where there was a lack of labor and to work in the sugarcane plantations. As for the French South Indian diaspora, they were brought to Martinique, Guadeloupe, French Guiana, and Réunion Island. I will not relate the story of the indentured period, but just to mention that those Indians brought also their cultures, cuisines, religious practices to those islands. That's where the South Indian diaspora migration started in France. And also as for Mauritius is concerned, it started a very long time earlier, before indentured period, on 17th November, around 11th November, I think around 1729. And it concerns the Tamils. And we say always in Mauritius, the Tamils are the builders of Ile-de-France, because Mauritius previously was called Ile-de-France. And in 1728, there was a newly appointed governor of France. He was from Pondichéry. He sent 28 Tamilians workers to work on the state in Ile-de-France. And as I said, Ile-de-France at that time, anyway, Mauritius at that time, it was called Ile-de-France. Then many more workers came from India to Mauritius by the French East India Company. So those Indian workers from South India were stone masons, carpenters, blacksmiths, who work on the public structures such as government buildings, stores, and other public works. They built the harbor of Port Louis, which is the capital now, Mauritius. The fortification, many fortifications were built by them. And one of the famous ones is the Caserne Centrale in Port Louis. They built a military hospital, windmills, and the complete town of Port Louis, which I have said is now the capital. So there were also the early Tamil Indian merchants who came as traders and businessmen, and who also settled and opened their shops and business in the town center of Port Louis. And all these happened before the indentured period, during the French occupation of the island of Mauritius. So now, if you go on this, on this slide, I'll just show you what's happening now. What's happening now concerning the Tamilians India now, Tamil Nadu is trying to connect back the people of Tamil origins from the different islands back to Tamil Nadu. So on this slide, as you have seen, there is a famous thing called Reaching Your Roots, or at times you have another program called the No India program, called KIP, which is run by the government of India, by the central government. But now we have the Tamil Nadu government, who is encouraging the youngsters of the Indian diaspora worldwide to connect back to the roots and cultures. And they announced, the announcement is done in a very nice way, in the sense that they say that from the sacred soil of our homeland, Tamil Nadu, just to attract the youngsters back to Tamil Nadu, they say from the sacred soil of our homeland, Tamil Nadu, where Sangam poets once celebrated valor, love, and heritage, the government of Tamil Nadu is extending a heartfelt invitation that transcends time and borders. So that emphasizes that this is not just a message from a land, but a call from your roots. So as proud descendants of Tamil ancestors who journeyed across the seas during colonial times to countries such as Mauritius, Fiji, South Africa, Caribbean, Malaysia, and beyond. You carry with you the spirit, language, and culture that your forebears preserved for generations. So in their statement, they say today, the government of Tamil Nadu invites you to return, not to stay, but to see, to feel, and to reconnect. And under this special initiative, it's called the title Reaching Your Roots. The Tamil Nadu government is very much honored to welcome every now 2 times or 3 times a year around 100 young members of the global Tamil community, descendants of those early migrants, for a fully sponsored cultural tour of Tamil Nadu. And it is free, as I've said. This journey is more than a tour, it's a homecoming. Hear the temple bells your ancestors once heard. It smells the jasmine and the taste the filter coffee they once cherished. Walk the very streets they left behind. Reconnect with a living story that still echoes in your being. All the expenses, including your international airfare accommodation and local travel, is fully covered by the Department of Non-Resident Tamils Welfare, Government of Tamil Nadu. So this is a humble gesture of love, remembrance, and unity. And these types of registration applications are open to all those Tamil forefathers settled abroad 2 or 3 generations ago. So I am very proud myself. I sent a few of my youngsters in my group, in my connection, in my association, to join this program. And we have some people who have gone from France, of course, from Martinique, Guadeloupe, to join this program, which is organized by the Tamil Nadu government. And also, as you have seen in this slide, in France, we are celebrating, my association, the Global Indian Organization, a chapter in Paris, is partnering with other organizations in France to organize the International Conference of Tamil Language, which will be held on 20th and 21st September this year. And the different aspects of the Tamil culture will be discussed with the presence of some personalities from Tamil Nadu and Pondicherry. So I don't know if you can join us for this period, but otherwise, this program will be live streamed on YouTube. So in my next slide, I will just show how South Indian culture is different from North Indian culture. Just like as mentioned, as shown in this slide, the different aspect of our South Indian culture compared with the North Indian cultures here. For example, the language. If you see major languages, including Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, and Malayalam, they are referred as the Dravidian language, which are actively spoken and taught among South Indian diaspora communities everywhere, in their family, a special course through the diaspora community school. And we must know that Tamil is an official language in Singapore. And on the Mauritian rupee banknote in Mauritius, the amount of the note is written even in Tamil language. And it is on the first line of on the note, followed after in order by the other languages. The North Indian language are referred to also as the Indo-Aryan languages, which belong to the Indo-European language family. So compared to the Tamilians, which are completely different, they are related to language like Persians, Greek, Latin, English, or at distant level. The food also is different. Of course, in South India, we have rice-based idli, dosa, sambar, rasam, curd rice, and they use a lot of tamarind, curry leaves, coconut, mustard oil, whereas the North, they use the wheat-based roti, paratha, naan, rajma, and all, with these popular spices like cumin, coriander, cardamom, cloves, garam masala. The cooking style also is different in the South, where they use a lot of coconut oils. The temples also are different. They follow the Dravidian architecture. And the rituals, hosting rituals, the music, the dance performance also are different as compared to the North. The festival, you have Pongal, Onam, Ugadi, Vishnu, Deepavali. All are celebrated with grandeur there, bringing together people across the region and also Indian communities. And we have for the music, the Carnatic music, Bharatanatyam, and all these as compared to the North is different. In my next slide, I have just mentioned how the incidence of this South Indian culture, if has been declining or rising in popularity. So it seems that South Indian culture, especially the film, media, language, has been rising in popularity, not declining. There are several strong indicators pointing to the increased influence both within India and globally also. There's a box, for example, the box office dominance of South Indian cinema. You can see in 2024, South Indian films collectively earned more than Indian box office than the Hindi Bollywood films. Some Tamil, Telugu, and Malayalam films have become pan-India blockbusters, not just only regional hits. Some Tamil, Telugu, and Malayalam films have become like, I have said, yeah, not regional hits, but big blockbusters across the world. There is a dub version of South Indian films, of course, extremely well, who have been for the Hindi-speaking areas. And the South Indian film industry revenue is growing very, very fast. And also the popularity, of course, is rising in the sense that the streaming on the OTT platforms are breaking barriers. The streaming services like Netflix, Amazon Prime are making South Indian shows moving accessible globally with subtitle, dub version. And this helps overcome the language and geographical barriers. And the shift from theaters to OTT, by OTT, I mean referring to technologies that delivers a streamed content via internet-connected devices, has expanded rich regional culture beyond just local markets. And we have also the social media trends, the song. Recently, we have seen the song like Natu Natu, the Telugu language song from the movie or have achieved global visibility, becoming viral, winning awards, and Oscar for the best, I think, original song at the 95th Award Academy. Now, the only nuance, the difference is that the North Indian Bollywood culture is very still influential. Even though South Indian culture's popularity is rising, Bollywood Hindi media and North Indian cultural norms still dominate many mainstream and national conversation. So overall, the incidence, influence, visibility, and popularity of South Indian culture is increasing, not declining. It seems to be, in a way, by the expansion, especially in cinema, music, streaming, and media, both inside India, across linguistic barriers, and reaching international audiences. In my next slide, I'll talk about how mainstream is our South Indian culture.
Mr. Purnaswamy, would you just make your closing comments, please?
Okay, just so rapidly, I already talked about the cuisine festival and film on all that and this, then I will just pass over the slide. And it has also our Tamil South India, I mean, culture has integrated within different other cultures. We have the food fusion, music dance, language mixing, cinema crossover. And to conclude, I mean, even before concluding this, like, I wanted just to show that we have also people from the South, Tamilian origin, who is in politics, also in France, where have succeeded in different like a region of France, like Guadeloupe, Martinique, and even in Paris also. I will just give a brief, how can I say, this successful approach of our global business leaders, such as Nadila, Sundar Pichai, Indra Nuri, Satyanarayana Narayan, all those people of South India who have become big CEOs in the different big companies of the world. And our French leaders have sent many are from South Indian also, because we have a lot of people from Pondicherry in France we were having the language barrier in France, but now those people are speaking very good French and they are involved in good politics. And one of them especially was, you see in the picture on the left, it was ex-minister delegate for democratic renewal and also spokesperson of our French government. We had also Olivier Ramuta, who is also our president of our GIO Guadeloupe chapter. So to conclude, I will say that as a conclusion, our South Indian culture continues to be the source of strength, pride, and creativity for our Indian diaspora. Through festival, arts, language, food, these communities not only preserve their heritage, but also enrich multicultural societies in which we live. And as we look to the future, fostering intergenerational dialogue and embracing adaptive tradition will ensure that South Indian culture remains vibrant and relevant for generations to come. In short, South Indian culture in the diaspora is not only preserved but also reinterpreted, whether through temples in Canada, in Toronto, Onam Festival in Dubai, or Carnatic concert in California. It functions as both as a nostalgic link to the homeland and a dynamic evolving identity abroad. So that's all from me. Thank you for your attention. And I welcome your question and look forward to a lively discussion on this important topic. Thank you.
Very informative. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, if you do have a question, please raise your electronic hand so that we can call upon you. But Mr. Poinaswamy, can you tell us something about the rate of consumption of South Asian art and music in France at this time?
At this time in France, we have, anyway, I've said a lot of South Indians who has come and installed from Pondicherry since after independence of India. And they were working for the French people in that enclave. So when they have come here, we have a very big community of South Indian people here. And from recently, we have movies which are projected in theaters and also in different parts of France, also even in Guadeloupe. We have association, we have a lot of different groups of dancers, Carnatic dance, or conservatory of music who are growing up. And this Tamil culture is continuing to grow up in the sense that we have a good number of people watching this, and the French also is very much interested in seeing all these things. And how can I say, the music, of course, the films, they catch up on these internet platforms. You have the Netflix and all, where many French people also they watch the movies.
Mm-hmm.
But on the French channel, we don't have any Indian movies or Tamil movies. Very rarely.
Was that something you're working on changing?
Yeah, I am changing in the sense that in GIO, with the help of my friend who will be talking after me, Dr. Ezilanen, I'll be launching my French radio here for the Indian diaspora.
Excellent.
Because Dr. Anand has his own in London. We are friends and we are getting his help, his support to do it. So it will launch soon. Yeah.
Excellent. So we look forward to hearing about that. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm not seeing any raised hands at this time. Perhaps we'll have some questions for you later on. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, our third speaker is from South Africa. Alice Govinda has 25 years or so of community service. She's dedicated herself to assisting communities in need, serving as a community activist and as chairperson of the Phoenix Civic and Ratepayers Association. Welcome, Alice. Alice?
Alice has to turn on her camera. You have to turn on your camera, your video, Alice.
She also has to
Alice?
unmute.
Unmute, Alice. And turn on your video. We have your PowerPoint ready. Yes.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Good
Welcome.
evening. Thank you very much. I would just like to say good evening to Dr. Mahabir of the Indo-Caribbean Cultural Center, our chairperson this evening, Ms. Shakira Mohammed, as well as our moderator, Shalini. Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity to share my story as an activist, as a South Indian origin, Indian female in South Africa, in my capacity as an activist. Good evening also to my fellow speakers, Advocate Jagannath, Mr. Mahen Purnaswamy, and Dr. Iziel Anand. I will be speaking on today's topic in the context of the South African perspective, more especially from Durban and KwaZulu-Natal, and hoping that I could shed some light on what South Indian culture is in South Africa. Indians reached the shores of South Africa in what was known as Port Natal, and we were brought here by the British. We know this as the indentured labor wave in the context of the spreading of our people around the world. This was a significant milestone for South Africa, since approximately 150,000 people were brought to South Africa to work on the sugar plantations. Traders and merchants came to South Africa voluntarily to set up their businesses and their trades. However, despite having left the motherland, we as a South African culture still maintain a very strong link in respect of our religious practices, our food, our music, our art, and all things South Indian. We also positively influence the social fabric of the country that we now live in, or that we live in, or we were born in, which we now call home. And we've had great influence in politics, faith, and every other aspect of life in South Africa. Our vernacular, our Indian languages, play an important role in retaining our culture and our heritage. Our language is passed on from generation to generation. And today, one of the key drivers of sustaining and teaching our language is the Tamil schools, which is either held privately, and many are held at the religious temples that our people attend regularly. And these are all in our community, and in KwaZulu-Natal, we have many temples. But as a blended, more westernized community, we are noticing our language being lost, a little by little, one generation at a time. I myself am a true example of this, because my parents only spoke the language, either Tamil or Telugu, when they didn't want us to know something. And so as a result, I know a few words, but not much. I am trying to teach myself, and I learn from others. But I do believe that our vernacular in South Africa may at one time be in great danger from being remembered. And I think it's up to our religious and cultural establishments to make sure that doesn't happen. Another way that we are losing our vernacular is communal living was once part and parcel of our lifestyle. And because of that kind of living, it ensured that the vernacular was learned because our grandparents spoke it and our parents spoke it to our grandparents. And our first language was our vernacular. But today, as the living patterns have changed, we have found that families became smaller, they become split up. And so too was the opportunity to learn from our grandparents and elders was lost. So I do believe that it falls on the burden of education falls on our religious organizations, our elderly who are still around, and those who can speak the language to promote it as much as possible in all its forms, and to continue that heritage of our language. If we could just go to my first slide, which is a slide on the Kavadi that is held in South Africa. Our South Indian religious practices are diligently observed in KwaZulu-Natal. We have many temples and mosques who are very active in all its traditions. From that slide, we can see how many people attend the Kavadi festival. In every suburb in KZN, where there's an Indian community, you will find very colorful and very large Kavadi festivals. So much so has the promotion of the South Indian culture been that we also have other race groups embracing our religion and culture. We have African singers of African culture or origin or heritage that have joined our temples and speak the vernacular well and partake in its music in our temples, and they sing beautifully, and it's such a wonderful thing to see. So many of our festivals originated out of South India would be most popular. One of the most popular ones would be Diwali or Deepavali, the Festival of Lights. Also well observed is our Kavadi festivals, Holi, and our Mahashivratri, and the Festival of Chariots, practiced by the devotees of Lord Krishna. Another South Indian strong element is the arts. The arts in the form of music and dance have formed one of the pillars of South Indian culture here in KwaZulu-Natal. Formal dance like the Bharatanatyam and other formal dances is widely promoted by a few organizations. We have the Tamil Federation, the MTSS Hall Cultural Center. We have the 1860 Heritage Foundation, as well as the Mariamman Temple that is in Mount Edgecombe, which is, I do believe, the oldest temple in South Africa. And we are very proud of it. And I live not too far away from it. So all of these organizations promote, and other like cultural groups promote our Indian heritage in all its glory. Part and parcel of that is the food and our family tradition of and culture around food. Food brings about families and friends together, and most socializing in Indian families ends up in the kitchen or around the dining room table. It doesn't matter how affluent you are and which area you live in. We find that all Indians generally end up around the dining room table. And as an activist, when I go into many homes, I will be invited, firstly, to partake of something to drink, something to eat, before we can even discuss the issue at hand. So Indian food is a staple in our homes, but also graces the tables of other cultures. And so we found a proliferation of our food into the white community and all the other cultures that we have in our Rainbow Nation. One of our very prominent items of food, which enjoys world-renowned status, is our bani chow, which is a big portion of bread, which is hollowed out, and it has our curry either vegetarian or meat dishes placed in it, and it's enjoyed and eaten with our hand. Our food culture has also infiltrated recipes throughout the world. And this is our new fusion food that we talk about. And all of it, this is created from traditional Indian recipes. And despite its fusion title, it still enjoys ultimately the Indian flavor. I'd like to go to my next slide, which is a video. And if you could just listen to that for a little while before I talk on it.
While South Africa boasts a unique culture of heritage and clothing, I could just never find the perfect fabric that represents who I am as an artist and as a designer. I've created Kanya designs to embrace both my Indian and African cultures. When I say Indo-African, it's the merging.
Alice, can you increase the volume on that video, please?
So the clothes
Okay.
have that fragrance and flavor of both India and South Africa.
Shakira has to do that.
And I've created Kanya from the streets of Durban. It's an
No,
amazing
who's
statement to make.
Yeah,
Alice is
she's
separating her
sharing.
own end.
Shakira is sharing the video.
Now that I have clothes that finally has its authentic voice, I am home.
Thank you so much. Our South African culture is the very foundation, that is, I beg your pardon, our norms and practices, our beliefs, and shared values passed down generation after generation shapes us to who we are today. And as you can see from Kanya Designs, this is an Indian female who has incorporated into her art, her designing rather, our African heritage that we also share, as we are Africans after all. We were born here. And that kind of fashion and design will pass on to our children and generations to come. But also a little bit about our community and generational gifting is one of our primary needs is to be educated. As a culture, we prize education above all else, and we will forego luxury in favor of education. This attribute is recognized and praised by other cultures. Oftentimes, when I'm sitting with other race groups and dialoguing with them, I always get a compliment about how strong family values we have and how education is so important and how we always have the ability to reach out and help each other. Another point, another thing that we always get praised about is our behavior, our demeanor, our personal demeanor, our dressing. It's all geared towards being on the conservative side. And there's a reason for that, because I do believe that as an Indian culture, how we represent ourselves in our community goes to talking about how we raise our families and how we respect ourselves and how we respect others by making sure that our grooming, our dressing is appropriate. We speak with respect and we give love and honor to our elders always. So although we would have parents, if our parents are still around, they will receive the highest accolade of respect. So all of these qualities lead to strong family bonds. The tapestry of South African Indian culture is rich and colorful and holds the South African diaspora in good stead. In South Africa, we're a melting pot of many different races and cultures. We are also living in a capitalistic, secular, and westernized world. We are fast becoming a hybrid generation where we need to absorb and adapt to be able to transverse the life that we lead today in this country. But I have no doubt that all that we will remain, all that we are, will remain rooted in our culture and many of its norms, for it is in these norms that we find our identity. We are a resilient people, and we have flourished wherever we have gone. And so, having said that, I would like to make special mention as an activist to a few organizations in South Africa, especially in KwaZulu-Natal, is the 1860 Heritage Center in Durban, the Sri Mariamman Temple in Mount Edgecombe, the MTSS Cultural Hall in Durban, the KwaZulu-Natal Tamil Vedic Society provincial body, as well as the offices of the Indian Consulate General. And the reason I made mention of all these different organizations is a little bit about my own personal background is I'm an Indian female living in KwaZulu-Natal, which holds the highest number of Indian people in this country. I am also a fourth generation Christian. However, I am very, very proudly Indian, and I ensure that I promote my Indian culture in everything that I do. I would also like to applaud some of our Indian churches that will sing gospel songs in our vernacular, and that is very enjoyed by the congregation, and they all get involved. And for those who still understand and speak the language, it is a wonderful thing. Everybody beams with pride. So in as much as we have become a hybrid community, a hybrid generation, and I do believe that that's going to continue into future generations, I believe that everything that we are is still rooted in our South Indian culture. And my role as a female leader in my community is oftentimes challenging, but being an activist is in my blood. Since my dad was an activist and hosted a chapter in Phoenix in the early 80s of the National Indian Congress, I have learned from him on how to be strong and how to be caring and how to always put community and culture first. And so I have become quite resilient in my endeavors. And as God would have it, my father-in-law, my late father-in-law, is also an activist. He was the secretary of Curry's Fountain for most of his adult working life. Curry's Fountain was a stadium facility that was an anti-apartheid venue for protest marches and sporting activities. It was here that many political activists held clandestine meetings and sought refuge when they were being hunted by the apartheid regime. So the journey of Indians in South Africa has not been an easy one. But I have to say, we have given birth to many, many powerful and impactful people. Our late Mr. Praveen Gordon was one of them. Advocate Ashwin Trikhamji was also another stalwart. And when I look at how we came here from India with nothing, and we lived in tin shanty houses, and we were farmers and we were laborers, and we were placed inland away from the coast in areas like Stanger and Verulam and Tongaat, and in different barracks sort of holdings. We've come a long way, and we contribute a lot to South African society.
Indeed, Alice. I want to thank you very much for raising that. Next week's program will be covering some of that history. So at this point in time, I want to thank you very, very much. Extraordinarily informative. I remember us visiting the mandir at Mount Edgecombe. Very, very interesting, quite lovely. And there is a question for you from Mr. Kirunaidu on the
Sure.
chat. I was hoping he'd be able to unmute and ask. He says, fascinating insights into the decline of Indian language competence in South Africa, an important subject to explore further, and I agree. How was it that Indian languages have thrived in other diaspora communities like Malaysia, Mauritius, Fiji, and so on, but have all but disappeared in South Africa? Can you just give us a very quick response? Thank you.
I don't think it's all but disappeared. I think that would be a little harsh or dramatic, because there is groupings of people that still continue to speak the vernacular quite well. I think it is more the younger generation. But one of the things that I have noticed quite happily is that the desire to know more about our culture and to learn the language is on the increase. Previously, when I got invited to cultural activities, we had a very lean crowd. The hall was never full. But these days, it's full to capacity, and we also have people standing without seats. And when I look at the work that all these organizations that I've mentioned do, there is definitely an uptake in wanting to become more culturally involved. And it doesn't mean that you have to be a Hindu, a practicing Hindu, to be at these events. I'm definitely seeing an increase in that. I can't speak to how prolific the language is in other countries, but I'll certainly be doing some research into that. And thank you, Mr. Kirunaidu, for that question. You've given me some homework.
Excellent. I want to thank you very much for an extraordinary presentation, and we hope to have you again to talk about that research that you will be doing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have our fourth speaker now, and this is Dr. Ezil Anand of England. He's the founder of the online British Indian Tamil radio station. He's a consultant psychiatrist in Yorkshire and a former president of the Global Indian Organization. Welcome, Dr. Anand.
Okay, thank you very much for the kind introduction, Shalima. And thanks for giving me the opportunity to share my views. My presentation would be very brief compared to the previous speakers. And also, I was born in India and I've been living in the UK since 1999. And I'll try to share my insights about the South Indian community in the UK based on a bit of research I did, and I have added some reference in the end if people want to know more about it. Overall, people always, the British went everywhere. So it's only recently that the people are coming to Britain. People call it, some people call it a reverse colonization. If you look at the census, census in the UK happens every 10 years. And according to the 2021 census, which was a recent one, the number of UK is generally becoming more diverse, and the number of non-white British are at 18.3%, and the Asians generally seem to be representing 8.6% of the population. And historically and traditionally, the immigration to UK has been more from the North Indian community. I think there have been third and fourth generation Punjabis and Gujaratis, but it's only probably post-war, beginning with the 60s, we have more like Indian doctors who were required by the National Health Service. So those were the people who came over, and only recently, I would say probably in the 30 years or so, the India becoming an IT lead in the world, there were more technical immigrants to the country. So what has that changed? Obviously, Indians have made a powerful impact in the UK. You would have seen our ex-Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and people like that who have made a significant contribution to the British politics. And more from the South Indian diaspora, including the Sri Lankan Tamil community. We recently had our first Tamil MP being elected in the British Parliament, and more people are becoming. I see many of my friends' children; they are standing as MPs. So hopefully, in the next few decades, you'll see more South Indian representation in the British Parliament. Like we have said from the other speakers, we do value education wherever we go. And it's well known that after the Chinese community, the level of education is highest among the Indian community in the UK. In fact, if you go to any top universities or to medical schools, Indians are highly represented among the student communities. Even in the National Health Service, which is our healthcare system, majority are Indian doctors who are contributing and looking after the healthcare. Like the pictures shared earlier on, we also have temples here. You can see there are big temples, like in fact, like you see in India, in places like Birmingham, and there are traditional. We call it a Teruvira, which is meaning chariot festivals happening in places like London. We don't have any dedicated Tamil TV channels from the UK, but there are other radio channels. For example, I do run a radio over the last 7 years. It's called British Indian Tamil Radio. It's an online radio where we wanted to promote Tamil and especially among the diaspora and especially among the people who are born and brought up here. Even in terms of language, though not many people would be speaking the language. For example, my children cannot speak but can fully understand. There are things done to promote language in every places. You have Tamil schools and language centers to promote the language as such. There are steps taken to have a Tamil chair, meaning to have a language department for the promotion of the language in places like Oxford. In fact, I don't know if people knew about it. There is a Thiruvalluvar statue, which is Thiruvalluvar is a great saint who lived more than 2000 years ago. And Thirukkural is one of the most translated book across the world, and it's known as the world Ulaga Tamil. The meaning that it's supposed to be of a universal truth across all religions and cultures. So there is this South Indian influence more and more in the UK, and even in every towns we always see the dance like Bharatanatyam and people having arangetrams or staging up the children's performance within the UK. I mean, even compared to 30 years ago when I first came, there are lots of Indian restaurants throughout the UK, and it's very common to get say a idli or a dosa in a restaurant around where you live. Now, going back to my first slide, if you can go back. Yeah, thank you. So overall, there are about, I mean, UK relatively compared to other places is a small country. We have a population of about 60 million. Indians are concentrated on some aspects around London, and also mainly around East London, where you see lots of Tamil or South Indian temples and restaurants. Next. So people are, I mean, it's a very younger population compared to other communities. It's fairly newer or a younger group, but with high employment and income and with high academic achievements. Next. So it's mainly the skilled migrants you see in the healthcare and in the IT sectors. Next. There is a rich contribution in arts. You do see lots of South Indian artists coming to London to perform shows. In fact, this year I can recollect at least 4 major music directors coming and doing their shows in London. But even otherwise, children here, they're all learning the traditional instruments like mridangam, or the dance like Bharatanatyam, and being there are opportunities to display their talents as well. Next. Festivals like Pongal, which is called which is specific to the Tamil culture. They are celebrated in January, almost in every places where there is a Indian community. There are also other celebrations happening regularly, like the Tamil New Year in April and Deepavali. Next. We also have regular events within the British Parliament, and many achievers are being honored at events held within the houses of Westminster. Next. So just a brief presentation to say that there is lots of contribution, and the South Indian community is one of the successfully emerging community in the UK. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you. Another very, very informative presentation, and congratulations on all the work that you are doing there in England. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point in time, I want to open the floor. Please raise your electronic hand so that I can call upon you. You are free to make a comment or ask a question of any of the speakers who are here. Unfortunately, Jagannath had to leave because it's very, very late in India, but our 3 other speakers are here, and we'll be happy to take your questions and comments. So, Dr. Anand, how well subscribed is your radio station?
I mean, it is very difficult. We are doing it more on a voluntary basis. We wanted to expand to other countries as well. So if anyone wants to collaborate, I mean, it is an online podcast, so it can be heard anywhere in the world. But we are taking steps to commercialize it so that it's much more sustainable. At one point in time, a few years ago, we were doing almost live programs very often, and we had listeners from more than 50 countries. But recently, we were unable to do that. But we are looking at opportunities. For example, we are trying to collaborate with Mehan, and we are helping him to open a Tamil station in France. Similarly, if anyone wants to collaborate with us, do please contact us.
Excellent. Alice, is that something you think South Africa would benefit from? Can you unmute?
All right. I definitely believe that South Africa could benefit from that. We also have two very popular Indian radio stations, which is Radio Lotus and Hindwani. So perhaps, you know, an approach could be made to them. But if Dr. Anand, I would be happy to communicate with him to see if we could actually open a chapter here in South Africa. And if not, I don't believe I have the capacity for it or the know-how, but I can certainly look at and identify people that might be happy to come on board with something like this. I think it would be important and vital to our culture, to our South Indian culture.
Mhm. Excellent.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Anand, tell us what are some of the challenges that one would face that you faced, number one, from your experience in having to set up that station.
I mean, generally, we are a small Tamil community. I mean, in generally, other than the radio station, it's really difficult. There are laws to protect the minority status. I mean, we do face discrimination in everyday life, and you would have seen about the right-wing protest in London yesterday about generally anti-immigration status. So overall, racism do exist. Might not be very obvious, but in other ways. But we are protected by law, and there are steps. So in terms of your specific questions about radio station, I think the main challenge is probably sustainability. We have been doing for the last 7 years just based on a voluntary basis, but probably we might need support from the business to do it in a more sustainable way. But we are open, and thanks to Alice. So, in fact, I was in Durban last year as part of the Geo convention, and I did meet up with a few. Is it RJ Vijayalakshmi from a radio station in Durban? So it'll be good to network, and if people can put me through, I'm happy to collaborate.
Terrific. So I'm seeing a question in the chat. Can the presenter describe the festival Kavadi? Who would like to take that? Is that something that's done in England?
It does. It does happen in a small scale. We live in a place called Leeds, which is up in the north part of England, and every year we do have a Kavadi function, but it's very much limited within our small temple group. About 30 of us will do that, and so it does happen here and there, but not on a bigger level. I mean, obviously, you have to, the Tamil population or the South Indian population is relatively smaller, but we do have locally in a smaller level in where I live.
Do you think there's an appetite for it?
Definitely, there is an appetite for it. And steps are being taken to, there is an open chariot festival which happens every year in London, in big places like London, but not in smaller places where we live, up north.
I see. Alice, would you like to just share a little bit about how Kavadi is celebrated in South Africa for someone who's never seen it?
The Kavadi festival, to the best of my knowledge, is in worship of Lord Muruga, who is a deity in our Hindu in Hinduism. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yes, it's the worship of Lord Muruga. It is during this time, just prior to the actual festival, that deities, worshippers would bring their problems, I believe, and lay it before the feet of Lord Muruga, and pretty much say, this is what we are asking for. And in return, I will devote myself to a period of fasting and prayer. And I will carry an emblem, which is a wooden structure depicting images of the gods and goddesses, as well as pulling a chariot, going into a trance and piercing of the body and the tongue, which shows the devotion and the sincerity and the depth behind the devotee. It is a huge celebration here, or a huge event, I would say, in KwaZulu-Natal. I'm not certain about, I do know that it's practiced throughout the country where we have an Indian population and temples, etc. But I do believe that Durban is the largest. And if we look at the recent one held in Tongaat, absolutely phenomenal. But almost all of the temples here in Durban or KwaZulu-Natal have a massive, massive Kavadi festival, well attended. So, yeah, very proud of that.
Excellent. Mr. Poinuswamy, what happens in France?
Yeah, in France we have Kabaddi festivals, especially done by the Sri Lankan or Mauritian community. And the thing is that they don't do it in a huge way. They do it only in the covils nearby. In the sense that at times they do the piercing of the tongue, the cheeks and all. So these things are not, I think, shown on the street to the French. They do it only in a private community inside the temple.
I see. Is there a particular time of the year, or based on the moon or something, that this occurs?
There is a type of some comedy. I think it was 2-3 months ago. There was one in August recently in Little India area where there was Kavadi, chariots and all. And this one is basically done by people from South India. And I think every year we have the Thaipusam in north of Paris, in a Covil. And this one in August, we have it in the center of Paris, in the Little India area.
Interesting.
I know here in KwaZulu-Natal we have it predominant. It's in April.
April.
The
Okay.
same
Kiru Naidu, I understand that you could shed some information about the intricacies of this particular festival. Would you mind unmuting, please? Dr. Mahaber, you have a question?
Yeah, I want to really articulate the statement or the question by Nash with respect to the curriculum. How much is Tamil culture in the curriculum? I mean, do the schools celebrate Kabaddi? Are the languages still taught? Nash said no, since he gave a date there. It's a stop, but the school is important to perpetuate any culture. So, any comment on that? And then we'll have Kiru. I unmuted him. Maybe Kiru could talk.
Hi, would you like me to go first?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Look, Doc, you're quite right. If you want to teach a language to any particular group, then I would imagine that the best vehicle to do that would be some kind of very formal structured system. For example, the school as an entity to promote, to teach the mechanics and everything else that goes in terms of a language. And I will talk to this a bit more next week when I do my presentation. But the current government has been doing its best to phase the teaching of Eastern languages. I need to explain what that is. In South Africa, our understanding of Eastern languages is Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, Gujarati, Urdu. Strangely, under the apartheid regime, and I'll talk to that a bit more next week, we did have the opportunity to learn all these languages in a very structured manner in our schools. It was on our timetables. We had trained teachers. We had an inspectorate, as we call it, a supervisor from the department, a supervisor who's to go out to schools to monitor how these languages are being taught, to assist those teachers, to support the teachers, and to promote various kind of functions where you took part in estate fairs, which are huge shows and that sort of thing. And ironically, under apartheid, we had that. And strangely, when democracy came upon us, and we're very thankful for democracy, I don't want to have any illusions about that. But a strange quirk of that is that the current ruling party has not deemed that it's very important to us anymore. And we have been sidelined. And I'm brutally honest about that. I think they have done us a disservice. They've neglected us. They have paid us no respect. And that's the brutal truth. I'll talk to that a bit more next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Nash.
Thank you very much, Nash. Alice, would you like to comment?
Yes, I totally agree with what Kiranada has just said now.
Nash, not
No, that was
Kiran.
My apologies, yes. With regards to the language not being taught, one of the reasons there has been a drop in our vernacular, all of the ones mentioned by the earlier speaker, is I recall when my daughters attended a Catholic school in central Durban, St. Anthony's. Mind you, there's a reason I mention a Catholic school, is she attended Tamil school, and she was learning her basics, and there was a Tamil school teacher that would come to school and teach. And that was, just before we had democracy, but ever since, the Eastern languages have been sidelined, and the Indian people in South Africa have been sidelined in terms of most of their cultural aspects. And it is only through our religious organizations like the temples, the churches, and the mosques of Indian origin that, or under Indian leadership, that our languages and other cultural norms are promoted.
Thank you very much for that. Mr.
Can I say-
Poliswamy.
Yeah, in France, in fact, we have they teach the Oriental language, including Tamil, even at university level in a school called INALCO, which is recognized, attached to the University of Sorbonne. And many people do register for that course. It is official. And we have in Guadeloupe a very nice person called Mr. I think Paul Negrit, who was decorated also by the government of India during the last Privacy Bharati Divas concerning the awards, I think. He has a school where he teach Tamils, Hindi, Sanskrit, and all these things. So we have private schools where anybody run by association can enroll and learn Tamil or Hindi or other courses. It is possible in France. But for official, for examination and all, we have the INALCO, which is a recognized institution by the French government where you can register for any Oriental course and get a certificate. Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now after 5 and it's about time to close. So if you have any question or comment that you would like to just pose at this point in time, you have a minute to do so. I just want to address something that is on the chat, and let me just get to it here. So all our presenters were extremely good today. We've had a lot of information, and someone asked whether French Guyana has a place on this particular program. And I just want to let you know that we have had coverage of Indian indentureship in the French colonies in the past. Dr. Mahaber, correct me if I'm wrong. Did we have French Guyana speak at that time?
Remember, we went to Suriname, and we had intentions of going to French Guyana to do research, but we didn't do that. We went to Nigeria instead. But that is still a plan because it's a under research territory, that French Guyana, neighboring to Suriname.
Can that person contact me? I'll put her in relation also, because we also covers the Caribbean French-speaking countries like Guadeloupe, Martinique, and French Guyana. We have GIO, our organization, also there, so we can connect with them and give them all details concerning this.
So we've had Guadeloupe featured, we've had Martinique
Yeah.
featured, but we haven't had French Guyana featured. So please just connect us with them. It's not so easy for us to get from Trinidad and Tobago to French Guyana. So
Yeah.
we would love to do that.
I have done some preliminary research. We have to go back again, Shalima, and to Suriname again. And my preliminary field research has shown that there are no remaining descendants of indentures in French Guyana. They have disappeared. They died in the gold mines, or they migrated. The Indians we found, and we drove everywhere, were Guyanese. These people
No, I
have
think
disappeared.
no, we have the indentured. I mean, people of
Descendants?
Indian origin, yeah. And recently, the ambassador, I think, Indian ambassador in Paris also went there because they are expanding the obtention of the overseas citizens of Indian cards, so CI cards. And this will be given also to the Martinique, Guadeloupe, plus French Guiana people.
Oh,
So,
Okay.
okay.
yeah.
Okay. All right, good. So we'll have to, Shalima, we have to go and see.
Yeah.
That will be explored further. Thank you very much for sharing that. I want to say thank you very much to all our speakers today. Shakira will take over now, and to our participants. It's been an extraordinary session. Thank you very much. Quite enlightening. We welcome you anytime in the future again, and we look forward to having you all next week for another conversation. Shakir?
Thank you, Shalama. And we want to thank everyone for taking the time to attend and to participate. And as we've said earlier, this public meeting is being hosted by the Indo-Caribbean Cultural Center, and you can feel free to contact the ICC to publish your books. Remember that we are asking for your suggestions, and if you give a donation, your name will be placed on our poster and all promotional materials, and you can contact Dr. Kumar Mahaber for details. Our topic next Sunday will be being Indian in South Africa under apartheid. So we want to thank our planning team led by Dr. Kumar Mahaber and Shalama Mohammed, our IT consultants Daryl Grantham and Navin Mangal, and Daryl again for designing the poster. So please visit, like, and subscribe to our YouTube channel to see all our past recordings. I am Shakira Mohammed of Trinidad and Tobago saying goodbye. May God bless you all. Dhanyavad.
Okay, thank you all for joining. So late. So if you have any burning question, comment,